Good evening, everyone. Please let the record show that it is 6 p.m. and we will be starting this session of Quispamsis Town Council meeting for April the 18th, 2025. Calling this meeting to order, please note that Councillor Miller is absent this evening. I'm looking for an approval of the agenda, please.
So
Moved by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Bigger. On the question, all those in favor, please vote. Well, I guess everybody can vote. Motion carried unanimously 6-0. Opening remarks from the Mayor's office. I would like to begin my remarks by wishing everyone a belated happy St. Patrick's Day. I hope that everyone enjoyed the chance to add a little green to your Monday wardrobe and celebrating being Irish or being a wannabe Irish person, even if it was only for a little while. As this is our first meeting since March break, I also want to welcome everyone back here at the Horseshoe, and I hope that everyone enjoyed a safe break from school and that we're all back and ready for the last leg of the journey. I also want to extend best wishes to the upcoming graduates from our post-secondary schools, and for those who continue on through the next number of months in the summer, we're wishing them success as well. So thank you to everyone for making Fundy Winterfest 2025 a success. We were very pleased that the winter weather was mostly cooperative and allowed us to offer many events, activities for people of all ages and abilities in Quispamsis. Fundy Winterfest is a terrific example of regional cooperation with our neighboring communities. The New Brunswick government delivered its first budget today in Fredericton under the new Premier Susan Holt. We are still examining and digesting how certain aspects of the budget may impact our community. We will remain hopeful that the provincial government understands and recognizes the challenges that we face as a community and as a region, and we will continue to push for municipal reform to help us move forward. Next week, the Quispamsis Regional Police Force will have a new chief. Acting Deputy Chief Mike Young of the St. John Police Force will take over as the KPRF Police Chief on Monday. The new chief brings with him more than 26 years' experience and service in various leadership and supervisory roles with the St. John Police Force. You can learn more about your new incoming chief through the Quispamsis Regional Police Facebook page. On behalf of all of us here around the Horseshoe and everyone in our community, I want to welcome incoming Chief Young to this new role. We are looking forward to working with him and getting to know him. I also want to thank Chief Steve Gordo for his leadership. His commitment and his dedication to his position as chief over the last 3.5 years was stellar for this community. Good luck, Chief, in your retirement. The town of Quispamsis annually recognizes the important contribution of volunteers within our community. Quispamsis residents, community groups, schools, and churches are encouraged to nominate an outstanding volunteer from their organization for the 2025 Quispamsis Volunteer Recognition Awards. These volunteers will be invited to attend a special presentation in their honor on April the 15th. The nomination form is available on our website, quispamsis.ca, under Applications and Forms. Submissions will be received at Town Hall or by email until Monday, April the 7th. Circular Materials, the administration of the town's garbage and recycling program, is now offering free recycling collection for apartment and condo owners in our community. Building owners can register and find out more information at circularmaterials.ca. You can find a direct link on our Facebook as well. As we advance through the month of March, you will note more and more of the town crews filling potholes, cleaning sewers, and getting plows off of trucks so that they are ready to roll for the spring work that was approved during the 2024 month of December for the 2025 budget. So those are all of the notes that we have for today. And I would like to have the treaty of, or the acknowledgement, please, Councillor Olson.
We would like to respectfully acknowledge that Quispamsis exists on the traditional territory of the Wolastoqey, Maliseet, and Mi'kmaq people, whose ancestors, along with the Passamaquoddy tribes, signed peace and friendship treaties with the British Crowns in the 1700s. We would like to take this moment to pay respect to the elders, past and present, and the descendants of this traditional territory. And may we remind ourselves of the important work we have before us tonight. May we make good decisions without prejudice or bias, and always in the best interests of our community, which we are here to serve.
Thank you, Councillor Olson. I'm looking for a disclosure of interests. Seeing there are none, we will move to our presentations. I would like to recognize this evening that Minister Kennedy is here this evening. Also, and as Minister of Local Government and Minister responsible for Service New Brunswick. So welcome, Minister Kennedy. And also, we have with us this evening Minister for Women's Equality, Lynn Chantal Boudreau, and we welcome you as well. So this evening, we have a very special announcement. We have our Deputy Mayor here this evening, who is going to be awarded a special recognition for work that she has done in the past for championing equality in the workplace. So, Deputy Mayor Schreier, would you please come forward, and we will ask the two ministers to come forward as well, and we will have this special presentation to you.
May, Your Worship, the Deputy Mayor wanted to wait just until we speak and do a little bit of a formal presentation here. And thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here tonight, Your Worship, Council, and staff.
I apologize; it was not on my script.
No, that's okay. We're an impromptu organization here tonight, that's for sure. And I appreciate you mentioning the two portfolios that I hold in the government of New Brunswick. You left out my most important job, of course, which is member of the Legislative Assembly for Quispamsis, and that's the post that I am most proud of. And I'm certainly very proud to be here tonight for a couple of reasons. First, to introduce my friend and colleague, the Honourable Lynn Chantal Boudreau, who will be making the formal presentation tonight, along with Nicole McCarthy from the Women's Equality Branch. And one of the things that is clear to me, having had the good fortune to have worked with the Deputy Mayor in a variety of positions over the years. First, when she was the member of the Legislative Assembly for the riding of Quispamsis back in the late aughts, and I was fortunate enough to be her executive assistant for those 4 years. And I learned a lot of things that I've learned as well from Minister Boudreau, is kindness and caring and compassion can go a long ways, not only in your day-to-day business as an elected person, but just in your day-to-day life as an individual and as a citizen and a friend and a neighbor. And so thank you for that and teaching me those things, because I think those were probably some soft skills that I really hadn't developed, but I've certainly developed them over the years. And those same attributes apply to Lynn Chantal. I have so much respect for her because I see her kindness and her compassion, and I was quite excited to be part of a government today that announced $9 million that's going towards domestic violence and victims of domestic violence, transitional housing, second stage housing as well, which is so very important. And we had the good fortune just before Christmas that Lynn Chantal had brought in some advocates, domestic abuse survivors who are very, obviously have a very emotional and heartfelt story to tell. And they came in and met with us with our caucus. And I really appreciated to have that insight, because it was a world that I'm unfamiliar with, and it's a reality in our province. So when we have people like Lynn Chantal and Mary Schreier advocating for gender equality and for women, I'm proud to be there to stand with them as an ally. So congratulations to the Deputy Mayor, and certainly right now it's my pleasure to introduce the MLA for Champ-Doré Irishtown. I love Champ-Doré en anglais, the golden fields, I love that. And the Minister responsible for Women's Equality and the Minister responsible for Seniors, Province of New Brunswick, the Honourable Lynn Chantal Boudreau.
Welcome, Madam Minister. It's certainly a pleasure to have you here this evening, and we look forward to Mary being
Thank you.
recognized for all the work that she has done in the portfolio that she carried for women's gender equality.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure for me being here tonight with all of you. All of you. Your family. Oh, you say. They look so happy and so proud. Good for you. Tonight I'm with Nicole McCarthy. Yeah, she's a important person in women's equality teams. Yeah, she's a very, very great person with big heart, and she had a great leadership for all of those files we have, just to make sure that all of people of New Brunswick are feeling safe. Yeah. Okay, I will start. Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with all of you this evening. The Minister's Award for Excellence in Championing Gender Equality, VIVE, is an award designed to recognize and honor remarkable individuals in New Brunswick who are actively working to advance gender equality in their communities, workplace, and beyond. These awards serve as a way to highlight and celebrate the effort of those who, through their courage, conviction, and determination, are breaking down barriers and forging paths. I'm French. And my next goal in my life, I want to be bilingual. Paths for a more inclusive and equal society. Women fill multiple roles in society with strength and courage as caregivers, educators, innovators, community builders, and beyond. They may juggle multiple roles at home, at work, and in society. So many women have had to break down barriers to pave the way for those who will follow. But we cannot deny the harsh realities they face. They are our neighbors, our co-workers, our sisters, and our friends. That's why, as minister responsible for women's equality, my mission is clear. I am committed to ensuring that every woman feels safe, respected, and heard. I want to push boundaries and eliminate systemic barriers. My goal is to build a society that is more equitable and inclusive, where every person, regardless of their background, can thrive. I'm okay, huh? No. I understand all. On March 7, we recognized the contribution of 6 champions of gender equality who are a reflection of exemplary contribution across various fields. Community champion, youth champion, business champion, everyday champion, and indigenous champion. Tonight, I'm here in front of you to recognize Mary Schreiers, who is this year government champion. At this moment, I would let Nicole McCarthy to present our champion.
Thank you. So I'm Nicole McCarty. I'm Assistant Deputy Minister with Women's Equality, and this is really special for me. So you all know the Deputy Mayor, but what you don't know is that I was at Women's Equality when she was our minister, and so this is quite lovely for me. And I know you all know the deputy mayor and your mother and grandmother, but please indulge me because these are words that came from the nomination and I wanted to share them with you. Mary Schreier has been a dedicated advocate for gender equality and women's empowerment throughout her career, both in her role as a member of the Legislative Assembly and as deputy mayor here in Quispamsis. Serving as Minister for the Status of Women from 2007 to 2010, she was instrumental in championing policies that advanced gender equity and supported women's rights across New Brunswick. Beyond her time in provincial government, Mary founded the annual International Women's Day event here in your community, which has become a vibrant platform for empowering women and celebrating their achievements. Throughout her career, she has worked tirelessly to break down barriers for women, whether through advocating for pay equity, which was something we talked about every day, leading anti-poverty initiatives, or increasing women's political representation through organizations like Women for 50% and Equal Voice New Brunswick. Mary's visionary leadership has also included the creation of partnerships for seniors' housing, specialized care, and affordable housing in her community, as well as significant contributions to advancing public health and support for survivors of domestic violence. Her ongoing commitment to promoting gender equality continues to inspire and create lasting change for women here in New Brunswick. Please join us in celebrating the many accomplishments of Mary. You are a true champion of equality, justice, and human dignity. Your work, your passion, your commitment contribute meaningful change in our province and beyond. Know that we stand with you today and every day as we work to build a safer, more inclusive New Brunswick for everyone. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm going to say. You don't think I'm not going to speak? I'm sorry I got to miss the ceremony at the LG's home, but many years since I spent. I'm very emotional. I am so sorry that I spent time with my family, and they're all here. Oh, I didn't realize you two were there. You're not. They take care of women's health, and I see you're pregnant. And we are so lucky we're going to have another little one in our family, too. So I just was reflecting today and thinking about when you see something, you have to change it. It's hard to close your eyes once you've seen it. And so when I think about policies like the funding for Sophia House that we were able to achieve, and it's still being funded, thankfully. There are things that government, that when we saw it and we did something about it, consecutive governments realized it was important, and they're still being funded today. Sophia House, KV, domestic violence. There was no KV domestic violence. The town of Quispamsis was unbelievably helpful in the first initial setting up of that. You remember, Nicole, when we were going through that? When we look at Bobby's Hospice, never existed. They said it couldn't be done. The first Atlantic Bobby's Hospice for people of regardless of gender, and it's still being funded. And there's just so many things that I think about, like, they're all great things. I wish they didn't all exist today. I wish we didn't have to do $9 million for transition homes. I wish that we didn't have dependency problems. There's so much I wish that we didn't have, but we have a lot of good things too. And my gratitude is to my family. You can see them here with me tonight. All my granddaughters and my grandson and my children and their families, their husbands and wives, and my spouse Scott, we all feel the same way. We breed it in our family about equality and how important it is. I remember Davis saying to me, guess what I'm taking? He went to St. Mary's. I'm taking a course on equality, on women's equality. I said, what? Yeah, everybody needs to go to that university and take that course. So it runs deep, and it's both genders regardless. We need everybody to be together side by side to make change, to make it happen. You know, I look at everybody on council, how we work together. Like, our council passed the first parental leave for a municipality in New Brunswick. Like, that's change. That's change, big change. We don't think so at the time, but you know what? It is. That's what they talk about when they say we're pushing the boundaries. We're making that happen. And I couldn't do it without my family, without my colleagues at the council table, without all the women that have helped me, like Nicole, and the women that are there every day, and the men that stand with them and recognize that for a better world, it takes all of us to make it happen. And so I'm eternally grateful. It's not my award, it's our award, and thank you so much. Thank you. I'd like to have my female counselors and mayor come and have a quick picture. Carrie? Beth? Oh, thank you. I know. Oh, I'll get a quick picture.
I know. A photo bomb. Ian, did you get the blonde-haired girls, the deputy minister? What was her name? McCarthy.
Come on, girls.
We are so proud of
This is the deputy minister.
Wow.
Come on. Hey, with the grandchildren. All my grandkids, minister, grandkids, come on. Winnie, Scarlett, Bo. All the grandkids. This is Winnie and Scarlett and Bo and Carl. Yes, I want you with.
Everybody, say cheese, fromage.
From Okay, thank you. Thank you, kids. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thank you, Minister Kennedy, Minister Boudreau, and to the Schreier family and grandkids and all of them. Thank you for being here. Minister Boudreau, thank you for driving down this evening. It was certainly... And Jean-Guy, merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup. Au revoir.
Thank you for your indulgence.
That's great. Congratulations, Mary. Moving forward on to presentations 5B. This evening we have Phil Willett, CEO of the Fundy Regional Service Commission, with a 2024 successes and a 2025 work plan. And I will start the timer. Mr. Willett, you will have 10 minutes, and then if there are any questions after, you can answer those. So welcome. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Mayor O'Hara. I will congratulate Deputy Mayor as well. If I felt like I was part of your family. For a while there, I was like, yeah, I'm in the in crowd here. Listen, thanks for having me today. This is a great opportunity to share with you a little bit about what we've done last year, and also dive into what 2025 looks like for the Fundy Regional Service Commission. I am starting these presentations by acknowledging that the regional service commissions are a product of the province, and part of that also requires new expectations on many of you. And it's really important as the CEO of this organization to acknowledge the amount of support that's being provided within the structure of this regional effort from each local government. And from this group alone, there's many. Mayor O'Hara plays a role as vice chair of our executive, as well as a board member. Councillor Bigger is on the role of regional transportation. Deputy Mayor Schreier is part of the community development committee. We have Ian Watson, who is your CAO, who is also, we meet with him frequently in terms of the Regional Facilities Committee. He's a member there. We have Chief Doyle and Deputy Chief Henderson, who are both part of the Regional Public Safety Committee. And then there's other staff that are also involved. So it does take time to do regional-based work, but what I really want to acknowledge is the commitment that I see from each council to make this work. And it's not just at the elected office, it's kind of across the board. An important theme that you'll see in my presentation today is that FRSC is really an organization seeking to be more member-driven, and that it needs to maintain that focus on local interest in regional efforts. So if we go to the next slide, I'm not going to go through this. This is the Fundy Regional Service geography. If we go to the next slide, here's our 7 different mandates, which I will quiz you on later, and we'll see if you have the right answers. The next one, if we go to the next slide, is on our 2024, and I'm only going to spend some time on this. We will release an annual report in May, and you'll get that, and for those who like diving in, that will be your opportunity. The big news is that we've achieved a lot of accomplishments in our work plan that we have adopted through input from committees, adopted by the board, and last year we achieved 77% of our total annual work plan, which combined about 57 projects. If you go to the next slide, we'll go through some of what that looks like. One of the biggest projects we took, and you'll see this as a theme as well today, is through the landfill. The landfill is our biggest operation within the Fundy Regional Service Commission. And we increased the height of the landfill through an EIA process, and we've initiated that. It will elongate the lifespan of the landfill, and it will also save our users, including you are a member of and user of the landfill as a municipality. It will save you about $20 million over the lifespan of the landfill. The other thing that you will have seen is that we've really tried to improve the communication between the members and the FRSC. This is a common theme with within these regional service commissions. So some of you were able to attend the regional summit. We'll continue to do that in the coming years. We have newsletters. We have an updated website, all tailored to try to get that connection and that regular source of input into our members. One project that we worked on last year that started small and it got bigger was our bid towards the Canada Games with the leadership of Envision St. John. Our role in that was, of course, the Aquatic Center, which is going to have a renovation as part of the bid and the effort towards the 2029 Canada Games. And lastly, the thing that I would like to acknowledge is the FRSC board, which is comprised, of course, of Mayor O'Hara, hasn't just been successful at accessing provincial funding, but also being an advocate for the interests of local and regional needs in the Fundy region. So this has been a common theme over the past years: advocacy and partnership with the province to achieve and get things done, not just at the local level, but at the regional level. So let's get into the 2025 work plan. If you go to the next slide as well. I placed this in very small font. I apologize. Every year, we ask the board to set priorities in what we call priority focus areas. And what this does is it establishes a little bit of a vision for the year. What's the theme of the year? And They're all listed here. They should be in your packet. But I did want to acknowledge a couple things. One is this idea of two-way agendas. Of course, the FRC should have things on its agenda that it's working on that respond to local needs. But also, we might flip that around. It's also the responsibility of local governments to think regionally as well. So local governments should have things on their agenda to say, we want to do this regionally. We don't want to just do this alone. And this is coming from the leadership because there's similarities, there's alignment. And I already see that, so it's not like you're not doing it. It's just to continue doing it. The other thing that we've heard a little bit more of is the need to look into the importance of continuous improvement across local governments where there's opportunities to save money, avoid duplication, and provide greater services, hopefully in the end. The last thing I wanted to acknowledge with this is this will be the last full year with this council and all of you as well as councillors. There will be an election in 2026, although it could be that you all get reelected and you choose to run again. But for this board of the commission, they said it's really important to maintain this foundation that we've built, and that the foundation and effort towards regional collaboration should survive political change. We want it to transition into that. So we're already thinking about that in 2025 for 2026. If we go to the next slide. A lot of stats here that we have for the 2025 work plan. We have lightened the amount of projects this year, and we're calling that a right sizing. Instead of looking at volume, we want impact and tangibility, so we're really zeroing in on the projects that we feel have the strongest impact towards our members. The other thing that we did with this work plan is we're going to try to do something new this year, is that we're going to try to adopt a work plan 6 months in advance. We're going to try to adopt the 2026 work plan in June of this year. Why we want to do that is because if we do it right, it will fully inform the budget process. We'll have an adopted work plan, we can cost it out, we can go for it. I know that several local governments attempt to do this. It's very challenging to do because things change in the local government environment, but we're going to try to do it. The other thing that we're doing is we're also looking at an update or possible adjustments to our regional strategy, which is a 5-year strategy. So we'll be doing that as well around the same time frame. So it's not just a work plan this year. If we go to the next slide. Something I did want to acknowledge is we as a commission talk a lot about our new mandates, and I'll share 3 of them. Public safety, community development, and regional transportation. And it takes a lot of space, and it's important because it's new. We're not sure what to do with them. We are moving in new directions. We've got some vision for it. What's important for me to share is that 92% of our budget is allocated to 3 services: landfill, regional facilities, and economic development. And really, the primary role we have, absolutely we want to find new ways to work together, but we're really a service delivery agent. We deliver a service of solid waste. We deliver the service of financing regional facilities. And we have a contract with Envision St. John for them to deliver regional economic development. So that's where the majority of the funds come. We're still working on what else is happening, but when it comes into what we're also an operation. A big part of our role is operation and service delivery. If we go to the next slide. We're getting into our work plan. Again, small font now that I see it on the screen, so apologies. We have 40 projects. We've divided them up into big moves, and then the second one is drive further impact. So of the 40 projects, there are 9 that we identify as big moves, and I want to identify a few of them. One project that is seeming to collect a lot of interest is around supporting the unhoused. You may say this is primarily for the City of St. John, and you wouldn't be wrong. There are more unhoused in the City of St. John than elsewhere. But what we're noticing is that there are episodes of this occurring across the region, and that the unhoused is supporting. The unhoused is not a geographic specific challenge that we face. It's a societal challenge. And several municipalities are looking for some help and some guidance and coordination in how we approach it. So it is going to be a project that we're working with the city. They have a massive initiative going on now with their Housing for All, and we will be supporting that, but we'll also be looking to support each community in their own trajectory and their own journey towards supporting the unhoused. The other one that we're tackling, and we're going to have our first meeting next week, is around a new regional rail working group. One of the things that also unite us as a region is that there is rail activity across the region, and that comes with it concerns around safety, around opportunities, around further development, and this is an area that all members are really interested in, so we've developed a working group to identify where we can bring value as a region and working as a region to support some of the interests that are being experienced by our local government partners. We're also looking to pilot, hopefully this year, some regional transit support, regional transit coordination and transportation. This is still in the works, but there is a kind of a united front across all local governments right now. This is really something that everybody wants to do. They want to see this improve. Some it might be at different phases, but it'll be something we will be tackling this year. The other big one is we have with the longer lifespan of the landfill, we're going to be developing a 15-year net to zero strategy for the landfill. The next slide goes into some of these drive further impact. So we are going to be looking to maximize federal and provincial funding for each local government's efforts around climate mitigation and adaptation. Every community does that already. We're also looking to develop new cost-sharing formula for regional facilities and introducing a new regional solid waste committee, and also evaluating the possibility of an expanded regional enforcement pilot. So if we go to the last slide. So one of the questions that when we assembled this presentation is how can you help and how can you become more involved? One of the things I want to share that's important is you have a role to think about things regionally. So you might face a lot of things. You have staff recommendations, you have local issues that you're discussing. I challenge you to think about when those issues might become regional and where it might be valuable to bring it regional. I do not want everything to be regional. That's way too much work, and everything is not regional. But when it is, it will come from each leader of this community to say, I think this issue is one that everybody faces, and I'd like to feed this through a regional discussion. And we'll do it. The FRC will do it. The leadership will do it. The board will do it. But every board member could review it in that lens as well and say, I think this is something that I'd like to expand this conversation on. The other one is we do send out a newsletter. It's a great opportunity to stay informed, to engage. We have opportunities for engagement within it. If you have feedback on, in the addendum of our presentation, you have ideas for the regional strategy update as well as for the 2026 work plan, so certainly provide feedback on that. We will be hosting another regional summit this year, so we'll invite you to that. We'll hopefully try to accommodate everybody's schedule. But we're very much looking forward to any feedback that you have on this year's presentation or any questions and feedback that you have. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Willett. So if you have any comments or questions regarding the presentation of the plans for the future and the successes of the past year, please share those with Mr. Willett. Deputy Mayor Squire, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Mr. Ouellette. I just wanted to point out under community development, when we're looking at the work plan, it says implement findings from the needs assessment, just to let everybody on council to know that that's huge. Like, there's a lot of findings, as you can imagine. So it's not just a one-liner, it goes on and on and on. So that's a big one. And when you go back and look at the budget allocation for community development, I don't know what it was, 3% or 3%? 3% out of what? I don't know what the total budget is, but we all know that that's why we keep saying at this table, we need to ask for more money and ask that mental health be removed from our plate, that it's not, we don't have the expertise to do it. And so that'll be reflected. But I do have a question about the planning and building inspection on the work plan. Assess impact and value of existing regional enforcement pilot and build recommendations on the next step. I don't know much about this pilot that's been going on. And if our community has been involved in the pilot, or what's going on with that?
Yeah, great. Thanks for the feedback and for the question. About maybe a year and a half ago, at the CAO level, there was discussion around a couple different, or a handful of communities were looking at expanded building service, mainly around enforcement of vacant and dangerous buildings, but also people working without permits. So we'd sought it out. Quispamsis was not one of the members that sought to engage in it. But three communities did engage, and it's still available in case there would be need. So the way we framed it is for the communities who didn't engage, let's say they have a variety of sick leaves going, they could engage temporarily with the service. And what we're doing now is evaluating it, and it could be valuable to communities that didn't engage initially. The feedback is that the pilot did achieve so far what we're seeing, some tangibility around voluntary compliance. Like sometimes you just got to knock on somebody's door to say, it's time for you to clean up your yard, and this is the legislation that would require, the bylaws that would enforce it. And then people tend to comply voluntarily versus going through the arduous legal process.
If I could just add to that, we have our bylaw enforcement officers here. We have our planning officers as well. So we did not take on the planning officers of the RC or the, some of those things that are duplicate for us. We did not get involved in that because we already have those services available. So, Councillor Luck, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks, Phil. It's nice to see you again. Thanks for coming to present. I just had a question around regional transportation. There's a point here, it says map out alternatives for 2025-26 regional transportation pilot project. And I'm assuming, I don't see anything here around bus, like I see rail. So anyway, if you could just expand on what we are doing or what we're planning on doing in terms of transportation.
Right now we're still mapping out what that could look like and what value it would be to doing it regionally. And I'll just maybe give you some examples. So some of our members want connectivity to the urban core, like that's their goal, and they don't have it right now. And it could be related to seasonal working, or it could be that anyway, that's their goal. Some others are looking for more inter-community. That's not their primary goal, is to go back and forth between the urban core. So what we're looking at is kind of two things happening at once. One is a demonstration project. The best way to show value, and this has been a challenge with transit, is if you ask everybody in the region right now, do you want transit? They'll be like, yeah, transit would be great. Would they use it? That's what we don't know. It's been done before with the comics, for example. They'll do like a free day or anything, and nothing really changes sometimes, or there's very little uptake. But let's say you did it for an expanded period of time, and you tried new routes or a new service. Well, then you'd have a real opportunity to demonstrate, to say, this is working. There is value. People are saying they'll use it, and they are using it. And what we might also discover in a pilot is that some areas are not working. So this is not what they're looking for, and then you adapt. Because right now we are, whether we like it or not, a pretty car-dependent community, all communities. So to break that, to say, wow, this might be useful to use, and I might change my behavior because of it. So the pilot's important. The broader feasibility study, and it will be transit-focused. It could be transit-focused, but we want to open it up to other forms of transportation. It could be existing expansion of the St. John Transit service, could be other transit services, it could be inter-community. And then the second one is around a broader feasibility study. So let's say the whole region is in. They're all in it. They're all interested. We've got routes all over the place. We do a feasibility study. We got to buy 6 new buses. Right now, what I know, it's like, well, I think, Ian, it's like a year and a half or 2 years before you actually get your bus. So like we got a 2-year lag time at least before we go. So if we're going to do that, and then we've got to say, how are we going to fund it? Are you prepared to fund this? It is a massive investment and subsidy from the local government to do that. And we need to find out if there's a will at that stage. But I'd see that as incremental, and I'd see the pilot as being a big information or input into that process. So I hope we are able to manage both, a larger feasibility study for the big ask on are we ready as a region, and then hopefully a couple or maybe a phased pilot project where we can start demonstrating this in some communities and then get reactions and adapt accordingly.
Thank you for that. I kind of have the answer to it, but I'm going to ask it anyway. It's in regards to transit. So I noticed that there was 6.3 million federally that was funded for St. John Transit. And I know that we're like the Fundy Regional Service Commission. So I'm just wondering if, is that money all staying in St. John, or is that going to be potentially, kind of used a little bit for regional activities as well?
Yeah, so those funds were distributed to the city of St. John for their transit services and the efforts that they have for their local needs. I'm not sure if there's some related to the COMEX service. That's something that I'll follow up on, so I'll get that. But I'm going to share some optimism for you on this, because what we're seeing, whether you like it or not, is that when multiple communities come together and they have an ask versus one community, multiple communities having one single ask, if we can do it, and if there's alignment, the opportunity for funding will be massive. So, I know St. John was able to achieve this 6.3, but let's just imagine in a scenario that we do have a regional model and we're looking for enhanced investment, and we go to the province and say, like, this is a scale that you've never dealt with. Fund us at a level to show your support for this type, and federally as well. So, that's the hope, and that's really what a feasibility study is. Is it better to do this regionally than to try to do it yourself? And I think for now, what we're seeing is there seems to be enough value and enough optimism about this opportunity for funding and seeking funding together, and maybe creating a system versus having 7 different systems going and then finding connection points. That perhaps that's the best way to maximize money and reduce the burden and the subsidy required for the users and taxpayers.
Thank you. I'd like to add to that Quispamsis has been looking at transit systems within the region, and we are a region, whether we are with the 7 communities that make up the RSC, whether we are with Rothesay, Hampton, St. Martin's. So I think it's really important for us to look at what would a pilot program look like if we did partner with Rothesay, if we expanded that to hook on to Hampton or St. Martin's. Because I think over the years we have collected information. And what that information has identified is that there is a need. And there's certainly a need when we talk to newcomers. And we've had roundtable discussions when we were talking about housing needs and that sort of thing. And when we examine that, and we know, and we've ridden on the buses with, up at 5 o'clock in the morning with Councillor Bigger and then CAO Kennedy, we've actually done interviews on the buses. What do you need? People coming from St. John, what do you need? People coming from Hampton and parking their cars up on Park Drive and going into the city of St. John. There is a need. So my reaction to let's look at the entire area would be no. Let's look at an area where we know that there's a need, where we know that there are willing partners, and let's move forward from there. So let's take a look at Quispamsis, Rothesay, and perhaps Hampton, St. Martin's. That's that's 4/7 of the 7 communities. So I think we might have to reevaluate this. And to Deputy Mayor's point, how much money is being provided for the studies? How much money is being provided to give us transportation to the entire region, as opposed to something where we know there are willing users within these communities? Perhaps that would give us, or shed a little bit of light on what are the numbers, rather than doing a feasibility study for the entire region and then trying to extrapolate how that is going to impact each one of the individual communities. So I do think that that perhaps it requires more discussion. I'm not settled on the idea that we look at the entire field of 7 communities for a transportation pilot project, but I would certainly entertain the fact that Rothesay, Quispamsis, Hampton, perhaps St. Martin's, that if we could put our heads together and say, how can we make this work? Start smaller, and then we can expand on that. But I don't think eating the entire elephant is going to help us. We need to go bite by bite, and we're willing partners right now to have the discussion. So, Councillor Bigger, unless you wanted to
I
respond
think
to that.
it's a great point. I think there's an opportunity for that, and that's essentially the research we're doing now is to identify at what phase of preparedness is each community, and then we'll make the determination. Because I think right now everybody wants a pilot, everybody wants to get going, but I think it's for the FRC to say this is the tangible group. These are the communities that are ready to go, and then we build from there, and then potentially we look at phasing in different pilots instead of it trying to, I think you're a good point, trying to do it all at once, but we still will have to do a feasibility study regardless, so we're gonna try to do it concurrently at the same time.
And once again, I would like to see what those studies are showing, or at least what the discussion is, because the funders for the RC are the communities. And I think that we need to have a great say in how we move forward with this. The FRC can make recommendations to the board members, but I feel very strongly about this, that this has been a need, and we've been looking at this now since probably 2016. So we've got some information, and we've also got some experience. So waiting until the entire study is done, you may be sort of putting us at the end of the queue, and I'm going to go to Councillor Bigger.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to make a couple of quick points. Again, for the council, earlier this evening, we were listening to an update on our housing action strategy, and one of the components of that was about broadening the livability of our community. And one of the key components of that, of course, is mobility for people to be able to get around. And as you sort of outlined the various types of transit needs that, you know, make up the total kind of conversation for all of the different municipalities in the region, certainly here, we're kind of the last man standing, as it were, related to COMEX, with Rosse. That continues to be a sort of I wouldn't say that it's growing in leaps and bounds, but it has a sort of a humble but very loyal sort of group that makes use of that. And so what we are interested in, and what we've discussed mostly in our transportation committee here in the town, relates to sort of runabout daytime transit here within the community. And that's certainly what we continue to field in terms of inquiries and questions from residents periodically, but kind of on a regular basis, I guess you could say. And so that is certainly kind of on the wish list, I would say, of our town. And now that doesn't represent, as you point out, and as I have certainly heard being on the Regional Transportation Committee, that doesn't represent the short, medium, or maybe even long-term goals for transit in the entire region. Indeed, there are some municipalities that might only want St. John Transit to expand and run something akin to a COMEX out, not through commuter traffic hours, but maybe 4 or 5 times a day, out to a community outside the city and back. And that's all they really anticipate for the time being, and not to assume what other communities are after. But what I've said to the Regional Transportation Committee is that I grew concerned that the pace at which we were discussing the matter was not matching the heat that we feel in this municipality related to the need to develop something, to finally deliver. As the mayor points out, long before I joined council back in 2016, since then there's been off and on discussions about this. And so I just want to echo that concern that the mayor's pointing out. I believe that we were, as a regional subcommittee, sort of tracking towards an idea, and I feel like the work plan as it results here in this presentation, and as I saw it in our last regional meeting, is a divergence from where I presumed we were headed. And I'm a bit frustrated by that. And I've shared those thoughts with the committee, and I'll be interested to see how we accommodate that going forward as a group, and certainly I'll continue to be part of that. But I just want to, I guess just because this is the forum we have to chat about this now, I just want to point that out to you directly. I think that we are, by virtue of aligning ourselves with the overarching regional strategy that you're laying out, I believe we are sort of slowing down. And I worry that it's needless on our part for that. Funding notwithstanding, and I certainly take your point about the better opportunity for broader funding when we have, you know, kind of an olive region kind of group together. But those are concerns I have, and I just want to express those. And certainly we are interested in seeing this sooner rather than later become available. And I would not presume to speak for Rosse, but insofar as they are a partner of ours in the continued, you know, use of the COMEX, we imagine, I think just even conversationally, we just sort of imagine the solution not stopping at the Tim Hortons or whatever at the bottom of Campbell Drive, but rather it being sort of an olive KV, where the majority of population exists outside of St. John. So, thanks.
If I may, I'm very happy to share that that feedback. It's important for me to share that we're building that recommendation, right? Our role, I don't make the decisions. We're building a recommendation for the board. So if I went to the board today and said I want to do a pilot with Quispamsis, will that pass? I'll have to justify that exact point. I have to say why that is. You could put a motion forward, see how it goes, but you know, being an expert at working regionally, which I try to do, I'm trying to achieve success. So I don't disagree that there's a good alignment here. There's good opportunity. It's the right time. I'm there, and we've got to build that recommendation. And the work of the committee is critical to that. So keep kind of putting that the pedal down to say let's get ourselves to a recommendation. Let's help build that recommendation. What needs to be done. So everything you should see in the coming weeks and months will be towards building a recommendation for a pilot immediately and seeing that opportunity. So I hope that responds. I would say we've engaged in this pretty clearly, and we want it to be there. By no means is this slowed down. I've given my mandate out to the staff to resource this and support it, and we're seeking funding immediately to try to support it. But ultimately, I want this to be a success for our members. So we're listening, and we want to see some tangible results on this in the immediate future.
Thank you, Councillor Bigger. I'll go to Mr. Colburn.
Thank you, Your Worship. If I may, just have a sort of a comment and a question, and thank for the information, Phil, especially around transit. As council's learning, I'm very much an advocate and see the need from a planning perspective. I guess I'll start with the comment. Earlier tonight, we seen the Deputy Mayor receive a very much well-deserved and champion side of things from equality, equity. When I think about public transit, I think about it as if we are a region or a municipality that says that we are inclusive and we're equitable and that's what we promote, without public transit, you're not. If you're reaching out to all aspects and the diversity of those that live in our region, if I'm unable to afford a vehicle, then I don't have the same opportunity to get to a job or get to a place that I need to be for a service. So I think that's critical. To simply say, well, we're a car-based community or a car-based region, and then to say that we're striving to be equitable and we treat everybody on the same level, and that level being whatever we need to contribute to make sure everybody there's equity. I think that's an approach that we have to take, because I don't think you can have, you're not talking on the same plane when you talk about those types of things. And I guess my question is, are we looking at this from a vacuum, or are we looking at, I'm certain that we're not the only municipality or region in the country that struggles with this. There's two communities that come to mind. One of them is Orangeville, Ontario, where they offered free transit. It's a community of about 30,000 people, and it's free. And that's the approach that they take, is that if we're going to be inclusive and provide equity in our municipalities, then free transit it is. I think the other one that comes to mind is Canmore, Alberta. So I'm just wondering if the FRC is looking at what's happening across other jurisdictions to be a model to help perhaps move it along and be a starting point to look at the feasibility and also studies. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Mr. Colburn. Deputy Mayor Squire, please.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Colburn, for those remarks on being equitable and all-inclusive in our community. My question is sort of going towards the budget. I know this is your work plan, and we are hoping our council this year to get a jump on the budget this year. We don't want it left at the last minute. We want to be able to progress through the year. So I see there's things such as develop regional facilities reserve capacity, undertake regional facility cost sharing formula review and development, and develop recommendations, facilitate dialogue on equity and ownership considerations of the Fundy regional service or facilities, regional facilities. So that has a lot to do with our budget. We've spoken before about this, about the regional facilities and how the amount that we are actually paying now for capital as well as operating. So we would really appreciate to get a jump on these type of figures and what we're looking at this year. Not Johnny come lately. We'd like to know very quickly so that we can, the finance committee can look at those figures and what we're looking at. And now, with community development and the transportation committee, what type of increase you're looking at for them if they're only getting 3% of the entire budget. So I'd like a financial update would be appreciated as we go through to keep council sort of aware of what we might be looking at when it comes to the Service Commission.
Yeah, if I may, it's a good point, because what we have is those are almost like fixed costs, right? We go through an exercise on an annual basis for operating capital for regional facilities. I did the calculation in the last 3 years. The region has invested $14 million in operating capital for the 5 regional facilities. No other RSC in the province has a responsibility for regional facilities mandated by legislation, and the funding that we receive, it doesn't give we don't get extra for it, for that, and that's a massive investment. So you can imagine, and I take all the points on transportation, and I hope you all know I'm an advocate for transportation. I want this to succeed. So if anything I've said that would indicate otherwise, I'm acknowledging that there is a challenge, that there's a lot of car users, but that does not mean we should stop. We should stop advocating and supporting. So that is why it's on the work plan. That's why we're working towards it. But you're bringing up a big challenge, which is how easy is it going to be for the FRC to say, hey, we'd like to have some more resources in community development, or for our efforts around regional-based transportation, when I'm also telling you that you've spent $14 million as a region on regional facilities. And that's not even the largest item in our budget. Our largest item in our budget is landfill. So it's challenging. It's a very challenging environment, and that's probably the most difficult part of this, is that when we identify these new areas, like in community development, and we say we found some traction, how easy is it going to be to say, so that's the argument back to the province, is for us to succeed on these new mandates, you've got to free up some room. You've got to give us some more funding on regional facilities, because our ability to say, let's invest a little bit more in community development. We see some real opportunity here, or regional transportation. So I'm with you, and this board has made it very clear this is their highest priority. Right now, we've just sent another letter asking for immediate meeting with senior staff of environment, local government to come to some sort of resolution on the cost of regional facilities, so that we can free up. We can start showing some innovation in areas that this region really wants to proceed.
follow-up. Has there ever been, I know we keep on getting things added to the mandate. Has there been any conversations on carving things out of the mandate? Like we talked about mental health, not putting that in the community development. Should the Funday solid waste be on its own? Should it be Funday solid waste, and that's all they do? Why? I don't understand why they're involved in, like all these other things. And I'm just thinking, could we say to government, it's waste, it's its own identity, we're gonna deal, Funday solid waste has its own budget. Because I see some stealing from Peter to pay Paul type of thing going on. And like, it's easy to do, transfer money here or do that, or maybe I'm wrong. So I just thought if it was separate, because all the other areas are different than Funday solid waste.
Yeah, it's interesting. It started with solid waste, right? The regional, so it's kind of evolved through that. So I've never heard that comment, but interesting. I would I'll share one maybe a parting thought on what you've shared is when I first started with the commission and I came to this council and other councils, the common language was, what's the minimalist thing we can do to fulfill the mandates? Right? That was the language we shared when we first started. Now we've changed it, that we're not doing what we're doing to appease what the province wants of us. Now it's about doing what we want, what our members want. So we're trying to transition the organization to, instead of like going up to the province and saying, is this okay? Is just teeing up some regional projects over and over and saying, province, we're doing our job. And let's say we found an area that's not even mandated to us. I don't think the province is going to say, shame on you. They're going to say, good for you. So I think if there's areas that are lighter for us or that are not relevant, I think, and our members are clear on that, let's say that, and let's focus on what is valuable for our members. And that will be a theme as long as I'm leading this organization from a CEO standpoint. That will be something I want to continue, is that it's got to be premised on what the members want and desire. So the feedback you've given today fits into that perfectly. I want this level of dialogue. I want to know what's working, what more effort we need in areas. And our theme song at the summit was, it does take a little bit longer to do regional work. You've got to find consensus. You've got to build some connections. But the good news is that hopefully we can find more money and support our members even more than if they did it alone.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Schreier. And just on the note that Deputy Mayor Schreier had mentioned with the 3% for community development, that would include or cover all of the staff that are involved in that as well. So what actually goes towards mental health, just as an example, would be fairly nominal compared to the overall budget. So to the Deputy Mayor's point, I think these are things that we do have to tease out to say what is actually manageable, what is the mandate that is expected of us through government, through provincial government. So, yes, looking at it with a new lens this year to sort of zone in on what the responsibilities are. So with that, I don't see any more questions or comments. So thank you very much for your presentation this evening. It was very informative.
Thanks.
And we look forward to the next one.
Thanks.
Thank you. Have a good evening, Phil. Going on to item number 6, public hearings. There are none. Minutes of the previous meeting, February 18th, 2025, regular meeting. Moved by Deputy Mayor Schreier, seconded by Councillor Olson. On the question, please vote.
Mine's not coming up, yes. I'm a yes.
Councillor Bigger,
Mine's not coming.
are
up
you in
either.
favor?
I'm sorry, I don't know what we're voting.
We are voting on accepting the minutes for the previous meeting on February the 18th, 2025.
I'm a yes.
You're good? She's good. Motion carried 6-0. February 27th, special meeting, Deputy Mayor. Deputy Mayor Schreier, seconded by Councillor Olson. On the question, please vote. Thank you. Deputy Mayor's in favor. Anyone against? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Item number 8, unfinished business. We didn't bring anything forward today, did we? Number 9, correspondence, 196 Hampton Road, PID 251959. Routes to branches, request to amend development agreement. Staff report from planning technologist Jennifer Jarvis. Welcome. Thank you for waiting and for your patience. I know it's been a long evening. If you wouldn't both mind just giving your name, that's all you have to give for the clerk. Welcome. So we do have in our packages the report from Jennifer Jarvis regarding the request for an amendment to the development agreement. Mr. Colburn, did you want to speak to that?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll just give some background because normally when development agreements from True Council, they're usually associated with rezonings and those types of things. This one is a little different in that the property was already zoned commercial, even though prior to Roots to Branches, it was a residential property. But back a couple of zoning bylaws, municipal plans ago, there was some upzoning or pre-designation from residential to commercial. So Roots and Branches took advantage of that and they opened up their venture. It went through PAC. PAC granted approval, and part of the requirements in the zoning bylaw is that new construction or renovation or moving from residential to commercial developments, you still have to have a development agreement, which outlines the standard conditions that we normally see even with rezonings in terms of scope of work, timelines, as well as security. As included in the staff report, the majority of the work in terms of the undertaking for the development were done in the course of the timelines. There were some challenges that arose during the construction, which obviously put some challenges there in meeting all the obligations. And the request that is before council is to extend the development agreement timeline by 1 year for the completion of the asphalt or the paving of the parking lot. We do, from a planning and development perspective, and I'm sure through council as well, is that we do like to support and encourage business and business development and those types of things. So there can be challenges that we have to recognize. So from a planning perspective, the 1 year ask is not a significant ask, and we believe it can be achieved. The report provides for a sort of a fixed timeline, basically looking at the work being done in spring of 2026. One of the recommendations is also in there. We did talk to engineering, and there are some challenges when we do have heavy rainfalls that because it is a crushed rock parking lot, there is material that washes down and goes into our storm system. So the recommendation from the engineering department is that at least this year, if there sort of can be some sort of apron to basically extend from the sidewalk even back into that initial entrance part to be asphalted to provide an area for some of that granular material to collect so it doesn't come directly into the street and into the sewer system, storm sewer system, and then completing the project in 2026. So that's the ask and the recommendations through the staff report. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you for that, Mr. Colburn. That was one of my concerns, but that's been addressed. I was just afraid of the undermining that could possibly occur. So I will go to Councillor Donovan, please.
Thank you. I'd like to move that council approve the proposed amending development agreement as presented to extend development timelines for the completion of the project to June 30th, 2026, with no further consideration given to extend the development agreement timeline for this project at 196 Hampton Road.
Thank you, Councillor Donovan. It's been moved by Councillor Donovan, seconded by Councillor Thompson. On the question. Yes. Next in queue is Councillor Olson. Did you have any comments on that? Next in queue is Deputy Mayor Scryer.
Thank you, Your Worship. My question's about the apron. So last year, I take it there was no apron, and so the staff have seen the actual runoff occur, and I'm sure you ladies have seen that runoff occur.
is a water, like when there is like substantial amount of rain. The drainage system that we were asked to install by the town honestly takes up a lot of the water, so it does prevent that. But there obviously is some gravel that does go onto the road.
Yes, okay. Okay, so my question, so we all agree that there's some runoff. Can it be something else besides asphalt? Because to bring in an apron, bring in asphalt just to do an apron, and then come back next year and finish it, I think that would be fairly financially significant. So I'm wondering, is there any other product that can be used to create that apron instead of asphalt that might be more cost-friendly than asphalt?
Through your worship to the deputy mayor, obviously the material that sort of comes to mind that is most readily accessible and the quick solution is asphalt. Obviously, they could look at potentially chip seal, which is a lower version or lower quality of asphalt in the interim. The bylaw states that it can be a variety of products, and that includes concrete, asphalt, chip seal, basically hard surfacing. So that is something that I guess we can explore through this process, but we also want a solution to address the problem until it's paved. So we're open to looking at those options, but at least asphalt or chip seal are the ones that initially come to mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions on the question? Please vote.
And Deputy Mayor.
Deputy Mayor? Good. Motion carried unanimously, 6-0. Thank you very much again. We apologize for the long wait. It's one of those evenings. Lots of exciting things going on. So good luck with the rest of your
Thank you.
development.
Bye, ladies.
Item number 10, bylaws. Proposed Code of Conduct Bylaw number 68 for council's review and discussion. Staff report from town clerk. So we will move forward. Mr. Watson.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you and on behalf of the clerk. Somehow I got nominated to speak to this one, and I'm happy to do that. Council, you have a staff report from the clerk in front of you, as well as the current and proposed bylaws for code of conduct, knowing that there's already a robust code of conduct policy in place. But that said, there were changes recommended or new elements introduced through changes to the local government regulation, which is also in your package, that encouraged us to take a look at the code of conduct to make sure that those elements were appropriately embedded. And in fairness, we also reviewed the process around recent experiences with the code of conduct to make sure that we're representing procedural fairness appropriately, that there's appropriate disclosures that are being made, and that the process and options for council are really clear. Because this isn't the kind of place where you want to end up in a challenge with respect to procedure. You want to be able to consider the merits of the situation and not get caught up in process-related matters. So it's certainly not my intention to go through the amended code of conduct line by line. You'll be relieved to know. I would be happy, though, to share just a couple of very quick highlights for your consideration, knowing it's not our intention to ask for a decision from you tonight, but rather just to introduce the changes, allow you some time to digest, ask some questions in the interim, and then perhaps come back as early as our next meeting if you're comfortable asking for a resolution and decision at that time, or if we need more time, that's okay too. In the meantime, though, just to give you a quick highlights reel, if you will, of changes. The highlights really are ensuring compliance with the most recent changes to the Local Governments Act, and as I mentioned, the associated regulations in your package. Ensuring that management of complaints offer greater transparency to all parties and demonstrable procedural fairness to those who are subject to a complaint. Clearer options for how and when informal resolution can occur, and more options on sanctions when they are deemed to be required. So with that, I'm certainly happy, as is the clerk, as are others, I'm sure, to answer any questions you may have at this early time. But it would also be an option from my perspective would be for you to say, okay, great, and let's just give it some thought over the next little bit and come back with questions later on. But certainly happy to entertain any that you may have at this time. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. Deputy Mayor Scryer, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Does
Oh.
somebody want to go first? I do have questions, but.
Councillor Luck, please.
All right, thank you, Your Worship. Just a thank you to the CAO and our clerk for, taking that on. I'm sure it wasn't an easy task. I guess one question I had was why, it was hard because I read the new one, but because the system, I can't print it, I can't kind of compare them side by side. Would it be possible to get like a track change document? Or I guess I want to know the rationale of starting from scratch versus just taking the one we had and tracking the changes so we could kind of see what was changed. So that's, I guess, one of my questions.
We'll get that.
Yeah.
Mr. Watson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Councillor Luck and others. This became a new bylaw by virtue of the extent of the changes that were being recommended. Initially, it was our thinking too. These are a couple of tweaks to our existing, because what we had was actually quite strong already. But as we got into it, and on the advice of our legal counsel, there was a recommendation to say, you know what, let's go back to an originating document, start over, and create a new bylaw, an entirely new document. That said, it's not a particularly arduous process for us to create a track changes document for you that would show elements that have changed in a different color or something. May not be exactly a track change version, but the essence of showing you tangibly what's different to facilitate your review, happy to do that. That's not a problem at all.
I do have one other, just one piece of feedback, and again, I guess we'll get into it at a later date, but number 5A, just one thing when I was reading through it, it says a copy of the report shall be provided to the affected member. I just thought there should be a timeline to that. Like, would it be at the meeting? Would it be like 2 weeks prior to the meeting? I don't know. Anyway, I just thought I'd give you that feedback because when I was reading it, I went, well, when would they get a copy? Like just before, anyway. So if maybe a timeline, that would be helpful. But thank you, it's very thorough.
Councillor Bigger, please.
Yes. Oh, pardon me. Yes, I was prepared to make the motion, if that's appropriate. I would move council consider first and second reading of bylaw number 068, Code of Conduct bylaw, at the regular council meeting of April 1st, 2025.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Bigger, seconded by Deputy Mayor Scryer. On the question. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Baker, for the motion, but I just heard our CEO say that we could have an opportunity to look at this and flush a few things out. So I'm not sure if we need to go to a motion right away. Yeah, I saw the motion. April 1st. Just say.
The idea is to take the next couple of weeks to go through it and to consider first and second reading on our April 1st meeting.
I'm sorry, my mistake. So my question is, would this be better discussed in committee of the whole, where we can have that easy dialogue than such a formal? I know we're trying something new and trying to keep on track with having these fluid discussions, so maybe that's a prime example of something that should be in that committee of the whole, so it's a more relaxed and then bringing it back to the council table. And once we've flushed it out, just trying to keep on the process that we've the new process that we've established.
So rather than have it go
back.
through first and second reading on the 1st of April, although we could do that and bring it as business arising from, if it's decided at that time that we want to move forward with first and second reading. So yes, that's certainly the wish of council, if council prefers to have that robust discussion. However, I will defer to the clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. The only issue that I see with that is having a finalized document to vote on in open. So if there are any changes as a result of the discussions in committee of the whole, it would be recommended that a final document is produced for ratification in open. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. It's been moved by Councillor Bigger, seconded by Deputy Mayor Scryer. On the question, please vote. Yeah, the confusion was around whether we were going to take it to committee of the whole open, or if we were going to leave it as is for discussion. Is that acceptable to make a second motion to say that we're going to discuss it first in committee of the whole open, and then perhaps bring it forward?
Well, in fact, it requires a majority vote of council to do that. According to procedural bylaw, we can't move that without that.
So right now, as it stands, we will be bringing this back on April the 1st in regular open council. What the deputy mayor had suggested is that we have the discussion first in committee of the whole open and then move forward from there. So the question would be, is it council's wish to support having this discussed in committee of the whole first? Can we do a motion to that effect?
So the motion that, through you, Your Worship. The motion that just carried is council consider first and second reading of bylaw 068 Code of Conduct bylaw at the regular council meeting of April 1st, 2025. So
That's a sticky wicket.
So the consideration of the committee of the whole, sorry, if that's where I was saying if there was any changes to that bylaw, it would have to go to a subsequent meeting. It wouldn't be prepared for that April 1st. So either we'll have to, this motion can be amended.
But it says we'll consider, so maybe if it's not ready, then it's not ready.
Right.
Right? But
Yep.
it might be ready, we might talk about it. And it
So
might-
it'll be a placeholder on the agenda. If it's ready, if there are no significant changes, then it'll have a placeholder on the open agenda, but it'll also be an item on the committee of the whole agenda for discussion. Sound good?
Sounds good. Thank you. I'm going to go to Mr. Coburn.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, just sort of point of clarification. I believe under Local Governance Act, you can have first and second reading, but as long as bylaws can be amended up to third reading. So I don't know, just as a point of clarification.
Just one second. Go ahead.
I know that CAO Watson is going to plan on doing a track change. I'm guessing that that's just an action item. We don't need a motion on that. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 10B, proposed animal control bylaw amendment to implement online dog licensing. Staff report from Director of Engineering and Works. Councillor Olson.
Thank you, Worship. I'd move council authorize staff to review the administrative and revenue implications associated with the introduction of online pet registration and provide proposed wording and fee structure changes required to introduce these changes to animal control bylaw number 52.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Thompson on the question. Seeing there are none, please vote. Motion carried 6-0. Item 10C, Proposed Water Utility Bylaw Amendment Number 024-21. Staff report from Chief Administrative Officer Ian Watson. Mr. Watson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, I draw your attention to the staff report that gives a bit of detail around two typographical errors that were made in the schedule to bylaw number 024 of the municipality of Quispamsis respecting water utility. The details are in the staff report. It's probably easiest for me, frankly, to draw your attention to the specific cells in the schedule. So that was in your package as well. So if I could draw your attention to page 1 of the amendment, you'll see that there's a chart there that has water user fee fixed charge component. For a 3/4 inch meter size, the annual charge was $279. There's a typographical error there that showed it originally as $67.75, but $279 divided by 4 into quarterly payments is $69.75. So what you see is corrected from $67.75 to $69.75. That's typographical change number 1. Typographical change number 2 is on page 2. There's only one section there. The price per cubic meter above the consumption charge threshold. It was 1.7335 per cubic meter. That was the 2024 rate. It wasn't updated in time, so it really should be 1.8046, which is again reflective of decisions previously made by council, just making sure that this schedule is accurately reflecting council's direction in this area. So with apologies for the typographical, we're recommending those changes be adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. Councillor Bigger.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move first reading be given to an amendment to bylaw number 024, bylaw of the municipality of Quispamsis respecting water utility, as outlined in amendment number 024-21.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Bigger, seconded by Deputy Mayor Scryer on the question. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have my own well, so I don't get water. So I'm just wondering, has billing gone out at any point into this year? And if so, how are we going to rectify this?
Thank you for the question, Your Worship. Through you, the answer is no, because water is billed on a meter-based quarterly. There's not been a meter read at the end of the quarter yet, so therefore no water billing has been issued yet. So there's no effect to residents at that.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been moved by, just 1 second, Councillor Bigger, seconded by Deputy Mayor Scryer. You have the motion in front of you. Please vote. Motion carried 6-0. The second motion, Councillor Bigger.
Let's do it again. I move, Your Worship, second reading be given to an amendment to bylaw number 024, bylaw of the municipality of Quispamsis respecting water utility, as outlined in amendment number 024-21.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Bigger, seconded by Councillor Thompson on the question. Please vote. Motion carried 6-0. Item number 11. New business. There is none. Item number 12, reports. You had those reports in front of you in your package. No comments on those. Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Bigger.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to commend the library on beginning their Spanish language story time at our local library. I think that reflects the growing sort of Spanish-speaking community in our town and our area, and I think that that's a wonderful thing to offer. And so I just wanted to commend them on that.
Wonderful. And so they've had French, now they've got Spanish. So our community certainly is becoming more diverse, and that's wonderful to see that we are an inclusive community. And item number 13, business arising from committee of the whole. And there are 4 items there. Counselor Olson.
Yes, I would move council approve the appointment of Ms. Leah Estee as acting town treasurer, effective immediately and until a return to her existing position is approved by the CAO.
Thank you. It's been moved by Counselor Olson, seconded by Counselor Donovan. On the question. Did we? Oh, I apologize. Can we take that out? You're going back, yeah. So it was Parkside Playground. So are we going to do that motion first?
Yes, let's vote on this.
So we'll vote, ladies and gentlemen, we'll vote on the motion that was just made by Counselor Olson and seconded by Counselor Donovan. Please vote. Motion carried 6-0. Moving now to item A. I have to bring this up. This is not showing. Parkside Playground lease agreement. Counselor Olson.
As per the motion made at the November 5th, 2024 Committee of the Whole meeting, council ratifies the execution of the lease agreement with Irving Oil for PID number 00454108 and 30150601, representing the area of the Parkside Playground and adjacent green space.
Thank you. It's been moved by Counselor Olson, seconded by Counselor Thompson. On the question, please vote. On the question? Oh, you're locked out. Are you in favor of that? Yes. Motion carried 6-0. Item C, financial signing officers. Counselor Olson.
I'd move council adopt the updated financial signing officers policy number 012 policy as presented.
It's been moved by Counselor Olson, seconded by Counselor Bigger. On the question. Please vote. Motion carried 6-0. I am looking for an adjournment. Oh, it's not showing up on mine. 13D.
Just added it not too long ago.
Okay. 13. There it is. Item 13D. Council to send an invitation to Miss Brenda Lee, the representative overseeing the H-Friendly New Brunswick Community Designation, to present to council. Councillor Luck, are you moving that?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Luck, seconded by Councillor Olson. On the question, Deputy Mayor Scryer.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just on the question, it was my understanding that we were going to have her present to Committee of the Whole. I think that would be the best place for the presentation.
For Committee of the Whole open.
Yes.
Yes.
I guess I didn't realize that, I mean, again, I guess the issue would be, it would be really,
Sorry, Karen.
it'd be nice if it was, like, accessible to the community. So I guess maybe I see CAO Watson nodding. I don't know if he has anything to comment on. I mean, it doesn't matter, it's open, but I just would like for her presentation to be viewed by the residents if they're not physically here.
Thank you. Mr. Watson.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you, and thank you for the question. I agree. The intent here is to, and to respect Deputy Mayor's comment, to have the presentation at Committee of the Whole, given its exploratory nature, but with the understanding that at that time we are ready to live stream. I would suggest that if we are not able to live stream for whatever reason, we defer by one by one council meeting, if that's acceptable to council. But otherwise, the only thing that would be required at this point would be an adjustment to the language of the motion to suggest present to committee of the whole, just as a suggested amendment, but I'll leave that to elected officials at the table.
Looking for council's addition to, just so that we have this on record, that it would be, we would ask for Ms. Brenda Lee to present to committee of the whole open at our next meeting on the 15th. 15th? Or first, on the 1st, I'm sorry, on the 1st, yeah. Yes, and it's going to be determined by that as well. Councillor Olson,
No, that was it. That was just.
okay. Please vote. Motion carried 6-0. Now we're looking for an adjournment to go back into closed, correct? Correct. Moved by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Donovan. On the question, please vote. Motion carried 6-0. If anyone would like to have a health break, go ahead and.